Beatz Media presents the Scoop and Score Football Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back here to the Scoop and Score Football Show, brought to you by Ball N Beatz Media, episode 19. Spencer, we've had a crazy, screwing of the mind, if you will, this
Yeah.
whole college football season, right? Monday night, it encapsulated itself. The Indiana Hoosiers, national champs, Curt Cignetti, Fernando Mendoza, D'Angelo Pons, Aiden Fisher, Charlie Becker, Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper Jr., the Misfits, national champions for the first time in program history, the first program to win their first national championship since the Florida Gators in 1996. We haven't seen this in 30 years, where a new program wins their first national championship. What does this mean for college football?
This means a lot. This means, first off, it's like you look back at it. I mean, Indiana was the worst Power Four program in college football history. Now I believe it's Northwestern, losses wise. I believe Indiana overtook them, but either way, Indiana won a national championship. So yeah, that overtakes it. Um, but Indiana was the doormat of the Big Ten. They were your homecoming game. You scheduled them on homecoming to make sure you got a win on your homecoming when everyone was, when you had all the alumni and everybody come home. They were a doormat. They were the team that you knew you were going to beat. They were your get right game. You looked on the schedule. You said, okay, that's a win, no matter if it was at home or in Bloomington. Bloomington never had an atmosphere. Bloomington never affected the opposing team. And, Ohio State hasn't lost in Bloomington in 40 some years. It's kind of whack now because Indiana beat Ohio State, but it's still true. It's still true. But yeah, Indiana was the worst team in the Big Ten for a long time. And the program was kind of dead. They kind of just shifted to basketball. They've always been a basketball school. Their basketball team has had success in the past. Not recently, but and then they hired Curt Cignetti, and he turned the entire program around. First year, he won his first 10 games, lost to OSU, and then finished the season off with a loss to Notre Dame in the first round of the playoffs, and came back. And I mean, most of his guys got another year from JMU or his super seniors that he had on his team, and he brought in Fernando Mendoza, he brought in Ramon Hemby. He just brought in the right guys. He brought in the guys that fit. And at the end of the day, man, it's crazy to think that this team won a national championship. They've been terrible all my life and terrible all everybody's life. And it just shows that anybody can turn it around in college football if you get the right coach and the right culture and the right mindset. And if you can, spend a little money too and attack the transfer portal, it all means a lot. And it's crazy to think how good that JMU team was going to be. Holy cow!
Right?
That team would annihilate this in the Sun Belt. Um, but I'm happy for Indiana. I'm happy for Curt Cignetti. I'm happy for their fans. This is a moment that they'll never forget. And it's a really cool. It's one of the greatest turnarounds in sports history, pretty much.
Absolutely. And how fitting was it? Miami native Jamari Sharp gets the game winning interception, son of former Miami Hurricane Glenn Sharp. And if you know Glenn Sharp, he's the one that got the pass interference
Yep.
called against him
In 2002.
against the Buckeyes. What a fitting
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
What a fitting story. But really, it's unreal. Like, is Bob Chesney going to do this at UCLA? It's the James Madison pathway, I guess. Maybe the
Yep.
UCLA Bruins are going to pack out the Rose Bowl before they eventually move to SoFi Stadium. And the Bruins are going to take over the Big Ten, right? Is that where we're at right now?
I think we've gotten to a point where you're going to look at teams attack the transfer portal a hell of a lot more than recruiting because of what Indiana did. I think you're going to see a lot of teams trying to mimic what Curt Cignetti did. and bringing in players from another program if you're a head coach and bringing them into your new program and then attacking the transfer portal. And you don't have to get the most expensive guys, but get the guys that fit. And Kurt Signetti got every single guy that fit. It's insane to me that it worked out the way it did. But I'm happy for him. And at the end of the day, um, Carson Beck showed his true self. He threw a underthrown interception, and Miami had every shot to win that game. The blocked punt was a massive swing in momentum. And if you think about it, I mean, they had penalties that they could have gotten off the field with Indiana on third down. There was a face mask that they called on 3rd and 15. There was a couple fourth downs that they converted, and that ended up being a touchdown for Indiana. It was a lot of self-inflicted wounds and penalties for Miami. And they probably, if you think about it, could have, maybe should have won this game. Miami played great. Defensive wise, that defensive line was eating early, and they were making some plays here in the third quarter. But make no mistake, Indiana won this game with their run game and their offensive line. Their offensive line was fantastic. Mendoza was a little bit, it was kind of a non-factor. He kind of was, just average. He was a game manager in that game. They had no touchdowns, had no interceptions. He threw for 186 yards, I think, something
Yeah,
like that.
it was yeah, like 186, 184, somewhere around there. But what he did do was that massive 4th and 5 rushing touchdown.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
that's what that's what it, yeah, that was his Heisman moment, and it came in the national championship game. He's had a couple of them this year, but that's the one that they will probably build a statue in Bloomington of him diving for the end zone.
absolutely that.
And shout out Charlie Becker for that back shoulder grab.
He had a couple of
On
those in
the
the
flip.
game.
Yeah.
Elijah Surratt had a couple drops. It wasn't the greatest game for Elijah Surratt. In fact, I'm pretty certain he didn't drop a single pass all year until in this national championship game, if I can remember his stats correctly. But Charlie Becker was really the unsung hero on some of those clutch plays, and Mendoza throwing it to only really where Charlie Becker could catch it. This dude only had 4 catches in the first 7 games of the season, and then he became an absolute X factor for this Indiana Hoosiers run. But of
Yep.
course, with Miami, like you said, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Mikhail Kamara coming up with that blocked punt for Indiana, scoring a touchdown there. That's literally the difference. And Carter Smith on the false start. That could have been very costly for Indiana. But Carson Beck wasn't great. He had to rely a lot on Mark Fletcher, who Mark Fletcher is going to be an absolute beast next season as well for
Yeah.
Miami. And he's going to be a solid pro as well. He's very good. Um, but Carson Beck shot himself in the foot. He had the chance. He did. He did it against Ole Miss. He just couldn't do it against Indiana. And now we're here. The Indiana Hoosiers, national champs. This is the craziest story in sports history.
Yep. 100%.
I don't care what anyone says. It is the craziest story in sports history. This is the equivalent of the Detroit Lions or the Cleveland Browns going 0-16 and 2 years later hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. That's what it would be. Legitimately. Hats off to Indiana. Honestly. Kurt Signetti, national champion.
It's crazy.
Where's the Kurt Signetti statue behind you, Spence? We need it.
Oh, it's coming. They're building it.
We're gonna need it.
They're building it just as fast as they're building it in Bloomington right now. Yeah, I think that's a way, like, if the Lions or the Browns went 0-17, or well, now 0-17, and won the Super Bowl a couple years later, it's pretty much what this is, just because of the fact that how bad Indiana was for the longest time. And I don't think people are putting much emphasis on it, but I think people need to realize how bad they were. They were terrible. They had no players in their history besides a couple that you even recognized or cared about. Everything else was awful. Everything else was, really bad hires, really bad players. But think about it. Like Lee Corso 50 years ago. I mean, they were taking pictures when they were up by 1 point against Ohio State and then lost the game like 42-7. That's how bad they were in their history. I mean, that never changed. It's not like
Yep.
Indiana won like Big Ten championships or did anything like that. Like, that's just who they were. They were a stepping stone. And now under Kurt Signetti, that entire narrative has changed. Um, I still think that next year they're going to be coming in with a chip on their shoulder, even though they just went undefeated and won the national championship. I think next year they're going to be coming in with a chip on their shoulder just because they're still Indiana to some people,
Right.
even though they have that national title. And while it's going to be, a weird thing to look at and see, um, and adjust to the fact that they won the national championship, it's something you have to get used to because a lot of teams are going to be taking this path, I believe, now of you hire the head coach, you attack the transfer portal, and you just from year one, you just hit the get go. There's no more building. You don't need to build a program anymore and take like 5 years to really build it from the ground up like you had to 5, 10 years ago. Now you can win instantly. You just have to attack the portal. You have to have an NIL fund that will allow you to get the players you need in the portal. And then, yeah, have a recruiting class. But I think the transfer portal's a hell of a lot more valuable than, going after some 4 or 5 star recruit that you have no idea is going to be good or not. Yeah, he's talented in high school. You don't know if he's going to be talented on the college football field. You know these guys in the portal are talented because you've seen the tape. You've seen them produce.
Right.
And that's what Kurt Signetti has basically made his mindset. Attack the portal, get guys who have production over projection,
It's
and
exactly
we'll
it.
win. And that's what they've done. That's what they've
Experience
done.
and production is what the future of of football is right now. Um, which I will say is a bit of a problem when it comes to overall development. And we kind of already seen it really within the last year. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about this. Um, at the pro level right now, I would make the argument the product that we're seeing is not as good as it was 10, 15 years ago because these guys aren't getting developed as well as they used to. You had those guys sit behind 3, 4 years, get their chance, and then even going into the pros, maybe sit back a year or two before they really got a chance to actually develop their game. And you just don't see that anymore because you can go in college right now. Why would I go to Alabama? Why would I go to Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson when I can go to a Texas Tech, to an Arizona State, to an Indiana? Play right away. Play
Yep.
right away. Get the reps right then and there. And then if they want to come calling after I've produced, then why not, you know? We are in a weird time in college football where there does need to be a lot of regulation when it comes to the transfer portal, which we can dive in and discuss further at a later date.
Yeah.
But what it's done right now, Indiana, they found the blueprint. They found the blueprint to win right now with how it's currently structured. Get the production and experience over recruitment and development. That's what it is. He's cracked the code. And what does this mean for just the Big Ten Conference first before we get into anything else? Like the Big Ten now, with 3 years in a row, Michigan, undefeated national championship, Ohio State, two-loss national championship, Indiana, undefeated national championship. I remember when we just expanded to 12. We're in 2 years of it. We said there's no way we can have an undefeated national champion. 2 years in, we've got one.
Yep. Yeah, and they
Three
were deserving of it.
3 years in a row, the Big Ten's now won the national championship. I think we've already said this. The debate's over about what's the best conference currently, and it's
Yes.
partially because of money. There's more money up north than there is down south. In certain areas, of course, Texas has it. Other states, Florida probably has it as well. But coaching, the Big Ten has the best coaching staffs right now. They're
Yep.
coaching better.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Big Ten has the best coaches to develop to develop their players from the portal and to make sure and to get them into the right schemes and systems. While I think the SEC still recruits at a higher level, I do think that they get higher recruits with Georgia and Alabama and Texas A&M and Texas. Um, I think that the Big Ten attacks the portal better, and I think that they have the pieces to go win the national championships. These SEC teams are trying to develop with, freshmen 5 and 4 stars and work their way up. But the problem is that if they don't get the time that they want, or if they don't get the starting time that they're promised, they're just going to leave and go to another school. And it's kind of a kick in the face when you work all that time for a recruit just to lose them in 1 year, just to lose them in 2 years. It's like, well, then what was the point? Um, yeah, the Big Ten has the better conference right now than the SEC. Um, the SEC had a lot of really good teams, and the Big Ten was a little more top heavy than I think people realize. But they have the best teams, they have the best players, they have the best coaches. It's just what it is, and I don't think the SEC is very happy with that, and I don't think Paul Feinbaum is either. So.
Definitely not. And what this means for the SEC moving forward, they haven't even had a national champion participant the last 3 years, let alone winning one. They got to look inward a little bit because they want you know, they want all these spots in the playoff guaranteed for them, 5, 6 spots or automatic qualifiers. I'm fair game for automatic qualifiers for conferences if there's real structure to it and not really
Mhm.
leaning into the SEC gauntlet, if you will, with these schedules. Look at Missouri and Tennessee this year. What was on their resume that made them even be deserving of being ranked? Nothing. There was nothing there for them to be ranked besides to really elevate some of those SEC schools' resumes. And you have to take into consideration the SEC this year gave the committee a whole list of things that they wanted to be included in rankings. And so you got that this year with the
Yeah.
SEC. You got elevated rankings for the SEC. And yet they went 2-8 in bowl games where they played against other conferences, 4-10 combined, if you include the SEC versus SEC matchups. They could only beat themselves for the most part.
Mm.
They could
Yep.
only beat themselves. So right now, it's really like a gut punch down south right now because they are not the kingpin currently, and they kind of have to look inward a little bit with how they're going to moving forward. I expect the SEC still obviously be towards the Big Ten, top two conferences. That's not even a discussion.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
honestly, I would still say the SEC product on average Saturdays in the fall is still probably slightly more entertaining to watch than the Big Ten for sure, which I will agree with. I mean, watching a Georgia Tennessee game is pretty fun. I can't lie compared to
Yeah, it's a lot
watching
more fun than
a
watching Purdue.
Minnesota Purdue. Yeah. So, but there's just a lot of things they got to reflect on. In
Yeah, it's like in college basketball when you have a conference, that just beat each other up all year. Most of the time they're out within the first 3 rounds of the tournament, all the teams. Um,
right. The
it's
Big
just
Ten's
they've
dealt with that
beaten
issue a lot in the past.
yeah, they've just beaten each other up, and then by the time you get to the playoffs, you're just so tired, and you just haven't gotten what you needed. So yeah, the Big Ten right now rules college football, whether the SEC likes it or not. And while I do think that the Big Ten will not go on a run of having national champions forever, um, who knows? Who knows whoever's going to win it next year? So let's just hope it's a Big Ten team, not named Michigan. So
All I'm saying is Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, all those states are connected. The last 3 national champions, all from that area.
if it's going by connection and going by a direction, that means Illinois is next.
Illinois or Northwestern, one of them. Maybe it is Northwestern.
And David
Ryan
Braun,
Braun's doing out there.
Ryan Braun,
David Braun, their
or
head coach.
David Braun, one of the two.
I forget. I confuse him with the baseball player sometimes because of his last
Yeah,
name. Um, the Wildcats of Evanston, Illinois, finally going to be playing, I think, this year in the newly built Ryan Field, the one that
yeah.
looks futuristic, if you will. So we'll see what Northwestern has to the table this year. What does this mean for the rest of college football? You look at these other programs who historically have done nothing compared to bigger programs. You look at the Iowa States, the Arizona States, the Oklahoma States, the Northwesterns, of course, Vanderbilt. What does Indiana winning the national championship do for them?
Means anybody can win the Natty. Legitimately anybody. Simple as that. You get the right coach, you get the right hire, and you get a solid NIL fund going, you're going to be good. You're going to be good.
Rumor has it Rutgers might be in consideration for being the national champion as well. That's what I've heard. Is Greg Schiano's finally going to get it done out there? I'm not pumping the Rutgers
Year
propaganda
7?
here. I think it's year 7, year 8. I don't know, but I mean, to be
Jeez.
fair, he already coached there for 4 or 5 years before he was coordinator and coaches elsewhere. So he's
They
got
go
a
5 to
decade
7, 6
plus.
to 6 every year. Listen.
Eh,
But
not
that was
next year.
Indiana. That was Indiana.
Not
Like that's
next year. Piscataway, New Jersey is going to be bumping, okay?
I'm
At
sure they
SHI
are.
Stadium. It is. It's going to be bumping. And I'm here for it.
Stadium. That's what it is.
Since we're at it, way too early national championship prediction next year. I'm going Kentucky Northwestern. We're going to have an SEC team make it. Will Stein and Kenny Minchie are going to take the Wildcats all the way. They're going. And then it's actually going to be the Battle of Wildcats. I didn't even think about that before I said it. Northwestern and Kentucky, the Battle of Wildcats for the national championship. I'm here for it. Preston
I'll
Stone.
go.
Let's go.
I'll go Illinois versus Toledo.
That's a pretty good one too. I could see that.
Mike Jacobs, year 1.
Mike Jacobs is going to be the first head coach.
Promised land.
He's going to be the first MAC head coach to make a MAC school 16-0. We're here for it. Honestly, if there's a team that could do it,
the MAC would have to go 17-0. I think even if they went undefeated, they would still play in the first round.
You're probably right. So they would be 17-0.
The Toledo will be the first team to ever go 17-0.
I don't know if it's Toledo, but since we are MAC guys and we are here for pushing the MAC propaganda, which, yes, it is a communist state over here at MAC propaganda.
Yep.
The Western Michigan Broncos are definitely in the consideration right now for way too early predictions of who would be the group of 5 representative. They have to be, right? They have to be. At least in the thought process there. They've returned everything from last year.
My issue with Western Michigan is they rely way too much on the run game, and that like if Buckley does not get going, they kind of struggle. But no, with everybody returning, I fully believe that they'll be. Let me pull up their schedule to see who they play. They play like some massive team.
They play like Georgia and
that's
Indiana.
A loss. That's a loss. Let me see. Hold on. 2026, they play Michigan. That's a loss. They play Boise State. That's a loss.
Is it?
They play Monmouth. Shout out the Hawks, the Monmouth Hawks, and Rice. That's their out of conference.
They get to play food. That's pretty good. I'm down for Western Michigan versus food. That's
2 losses.
That's the game of the week right there.
I guess we'll have to see.
We will have to see. But I'm a proponent Western Michigan being the G5 representative next year. Early promotion for it. Let's get it out there. Everyone needs to know.
No. John Allen Richter is going to bring the Rockets to the promised land in year 1 with Mike Jacobs.
They don't even know.
Scherzak's going to have 22 sacks.
You don't even know about the Lenore Ryan legend at quarterback, all right?
Yeah, no, that's not the answer.
How do you know it's not the answer?
That's some D3 guy.
D2 guy.
He had like 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
We're
That's
not going
to
disrespect. We're not going to disrespect Lenore Ryan, okay?
I'm going to disrespect Lenore Ryan.
We're not.
That is not. That's not. How is that supposed to move me? 20 touchdowns, 6 picks. That's pretty good.
Hey,
if
man,
it wasn't D2.
Just remember what Joe Burrow did his first year at LSU. It wasn't great. And then he was an absolute record breaker the next season.
State, and then he came in a transfer.
It don't matter, okay?
And then they won like 9 games that year. Or 10 games his first year at LSU.
He lost to Central Florida. Okay. He lost to Central Florida. And that's all you got to know.
They're the national champions of 2017.
They were the real national champions. And while we're at it, talking about national champions, congrats, Indiana. Congrats the fan base. Congrats the alumni. Congrats every worker of the University of Indiana, the president, the janitors, everything in between. And cheers. Cheers to you all with this delicious B&B water. All of our Indiana Hoosier supporters should subscribe to the channel. They should hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Next week, We're going to have our way too early B&B poll for the 2026 season. We'll see it where Indiana falls. We'll have to see. Will they fall? Will they stay number one? Who knows?
Will
See
they be
next
in the
week.
poll? Who
Will
knows?
they even be in the poll? Yeah. I mean, Spencer's poll probably has them in the top 100 at least. I don't know.
Mhm.
We'll have to see, though. Moving on from college football to the pros. We've had some drama unfold after the divisional round. The Buffalo Bills fired Sean McDermott. Every single head coach that we discussed is as a name to watch, who's a name who has won, a name who's been there for a while. Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Sean McDermott, we talked about this. All fired. All fired. And
Yep.
I think none crazier, honestly, than Sean McDermott because Buffalo still was there. Like Pittsburgh, they made the playoffs, but it's not like really talented. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're one and done every year. You are average at best, and you're really worse than average, but you keep on winning. That was Pittsburgh. Baltimore, just the time ran its course with John Harbaugh. And well, Baltimore was also in the AFC title just 2-3 seasons ago, too. It's not like they
Yeah.
can't get there again. They have Lamar Jackson. With Buffalo, this was the season to do it. Of all
Yep.
seasons, Josh Allen, you
I
have
believed in him.
the avenue.
I believed in him. I did it again.
It's Buffalo, man. You
Should've
can't
won that
trust
game.
Buffalo when it comes to the
I
postseason.
didn't even watch the game. I was busy doing stuff in Columbus, but I just saw the final score and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! It happened again.
Well, it didn't help that Josh Allen had 3 or 4 turnovers himself. Buffalo was pretty dominant defensively earlier on in the game. Third quarter, fourth quarter came around. Buffalo made it a game and actually took the lead. And then Denver had to show up. Bo Nix played pretty good. Obviously, towards the end of the game, he ended up playing on a fractured ankle. He's out for the year, and that's a whole
Crazy.
storyline going into the conference championship weekend
Yes.
now. But Denver, they got the job done. And the Broncos, the number 1 seed, they're playing like it. We'll have to see how it stands with Jarrett Stidham this weekend. But Buffalo, what's going on? And earlier today, at the time of this recording, we're recording here on Wednesday. This episode is out Friday. Terry Bagula, their owner, just spewed off about Keon Coleman, talking about how the actual coaching staff was the reason why he got hired or got drafted, and that the general manager Brandon Beane basically was like, I didn't want him. They practically said that the general manager didn't want him, which I am not believing. Not believing that. But they went out there and just pretty much threw the kid under the bus after everything else we already know is going on up there with him
Yeah.
in Buffalo, with all the off the field issues, him late to team meetings, a bunch of other reasons why he's not really playing, and he's expected to be their main guy. He's gone. Like, he's traded this offseason.
Yeah.
They can't cut him because they won't even eat. They'll eat dead cap. So that's a whole crazy situation. But
I
you
just
have
think it was disagreements with the front office. Disagreements. He obviously kind of showed in that press conference that they had today that McDermott and the front office was just not on the same page.
yeah.
And McDermott came out and said that like the front office hasn't done enough to give me a Super Bowl caliber team. While I don't think he's 1000% wrong, I also don't think he's right. The defense could be better, but they have good pieces, and you don't need everything to be perfect in order to win a Super Bowl. So,
You don't. A lot of teams have shown that in the past.
yeah,
But now moving forward with Buffalo, where do you go?
Brian Dayball.
I've heard that name. He's
The
interviewing.
easy answer. He knows Josh Allen. He has a relationship with Josh Allen. They'll be completely fine.
Rumor is with Brian Daboll, if he doesn't get the head coaching job in Buffalo, he's more than likely going to be the Titans' offensive coordinator, from what I've heard. I know Ohio State fans were hoping for Brian Daboll to be in consideration
That
for
would
their
have been
offensive
nice.
coordinator
Yeah.
job, but that's just not happening. He's not going to college.
So
There's other names too. Joe Brady's still there. He's a young guy. Who knows? Maybe you switch it over to a young guy, give him the head coaching reins where he's been interviewed multiple different places to be a head coach, even in this cycle alone. Outside of them, Like, where do you turn? Outside of, like, it feels like someone who's got to be connected to Buffalo, right? At least that's what it's giving right now. Do
Dayball.
they go
I
to a
feel
young
like
guy?
Dayball's the easy answer.
I've heard Grant Udinsky, the 30-year-old at Jacksonville, they've requested to interview him right now. In Cleveland, with their own situation with the whole Rooney rule, where they thought they had Mike McDaniel to get a second interview so that way you can fulfill the Rooney rule. He's taken the job at the Los Angeles Chargers to be their offensive coordinator, which honestly is one of the best moves I think so far of the entire coaching cycle, let
My
alone
stock on Amari and Hampton
offensive coordinator. That's a
and
great
fantasy next
hire by
year.
the Chargers. I'm a massive fan of it. But you have to interview 2 minority coaches in person unless you do hire a minority coach. So Cleveland's coaching search little bit wonky right now. It's giving Udinsky or Shielhaus. And I mentioned Shielhaus earlier on that I said, watch this guy's name. He's going to be a serious player for some coaching jobs. Looks like he might be maybe the favorite right now for Cleveland. Um, and then back to Buffalo. Maybe they go for a guy like him, like Shieldhouse, like Udinsky. I don't know. Outside of those two with Dayball and Brady.
Yeah, I do think with the Browns, Shieldhouse is going to be your guys' answer, and I do think it'll be a solid hire. You're hiring from the McVay tree, normally most out of the time. Now McVay is calling the offensive plays, but he's giving his input as well. He's learned under Sean McVay. You got to try something different. You got to get an offensive coach to pair with if you try to do another year with Shador, I think you guys are, because I just don't think you should draft a quarterback this year. The class isn't great unless you drafted him in the late rounds or like in the second or the third round. Um, but yeah, I think Shieldhouse will be your guys' answer, which I think is a solid hire.
I'd be all right with it. You got to go young. You got to try something new. And Shieldhouse, he's an up and coming guy. And Cleveland's mentality going into their coaching search this year is, if he's going to be a head coach soon, why not get him now? And that I think that's the right approach. Honestly, get him while you can. The issue is Jim Schwartz is still a legit candidate here for Cleveland too. To me, he's if you can't get any of these young guys, if they get an actual job somewhere else, because if you look at Cleveland's situation, at least offensively, it's not a great situation offensively. Yeah, you have a lot of young pieces with Judkins, Harold Fannin Jr. There's pieces there to build for the future. It's just everything else with the Deshaun Watson salary cap situation. It's not great.
Last
Your
year,
offensive line, you're going to have to completely get new guys here the next year or two, since almost every one of them are probably going to not be on the roster in 2 years.
yeah.
So it'll be intriguing to see what Cleveland ends up getting. What's your favorite hire so far throughout the head coaching cycle?
Probably Stefanski to Atlanta. I think Stefanski will do a really good job there. He brings a good offensive mind, and they have so many pieces in Atlanta that they just need to mesh and just get the right coach. And I think that Kevin Stefanski will bring that. He's won the Coach of the Year twice with Cleveland. He is a great offensive mind. You just needed the pieces, and you never got them. And now that he has those pieces, I think that Atlanta's going to have a very good offense. Um, and their defense is young too. So yeah, I think that Stefanski is probably my favorite coach to be hired right now.
Stefanski's going into a great situation. He necessarily never had it in Cleveland. You could say the first 2 years he did have it. Um, I don't know if you've seen the drama on Twitter with Baker Mayfield. I don't know if you
Mm-mm.
saw that. Someone had tweeted about Stefanski having the quarterback issues in Cleveland, how it was a failure, and Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson just didn't work out. Baker responded. He said, "Failure is a big stretch," and basically said, "I haven't heard from him since he shipped me off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to play him twice a year."
Hmm. Hmm.
It'll be intriguing to watch the
Oh,
NFC
Baker's
South
gonna be
next year for
pissed in
sure.
those games.
Those 2 games, he's going to put up like 600 yards passing and like 7 touchdowns. Mike Evans is going to probably break the receiving record next year just because of those 2 games alone.
Yeah.
Um, but I like the hire, like you said, for Stefanski to Atlanta. I'm going a little different. And for some reason, the more and more I've thought about it, the more and more I like it. partially because I'm really high on this guy anyway. I think he's going to be a very, very good head coach. The fit kind of didn't make sense to me at first, but it does make sense based off their past track record. I'm saying Robert Saleh with the Tennessee Titans is my favorite so far, simply because of
Yeah.
the fact that he is very Mike Vrabel like. He's very gritty. He's got that defensive mentality. He's a natural leader. Tennessee needs that, as well as developing this offense. I mean, this offense is awful, which doesn't necessarily help with Robert Saleh unless he hires in the right offensive mind. Like if they could get a Brian Daboll, or if they could get a Joe Brady, or if they could get someone like that to be their offensive coordinator, I'd feel a lot better about this situation moving forward offensively. But Robert Saleh, that dude almost got the Jags head coaching job last year before Liam Cohen ended up getting it. Like people are forgetting how good Saleh is just because of what happened with the New York Jets. The New York Jets are an absolute dumpster fire, but their
Yeah.
defense was one of the best in the league when he was there. Look at what San Francisco had to deal with all season this year. Like, yeah, Seattle beat them 41-6 in the divisional round. Seattle's just a different animal right now. They're just a different
Yeah.
animal. And he was playing with a bunch of backups out there in San Francisco for the most part, besides Diomedor Lenore. Outside of Lenore, who do you know out there who was playing? Not a lot
Pretty
of
much.
people off the top of your
Yeah.
head. So I think he's done a great job with what he was given, and the fact that he only lasted a year or two back out there in San Francisco is not all that shocking to me. I think Robert Saleh, with a second crack at it, will do really good in Tennessee.
I agree. I agree.
Conference championships. We're here. 2 games away from deciding what the Super Bowl will be. But before we do that, I gotta get a sip of this B&B water as Spencer's leaning over the edge of his bed.
I was trying to grab my phone.
You guys should subscribe to the channel. You should hit the push notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos. 1 video every week, Friday night at 6 p.m. Who knows? Maybe we'll have more in the future. If you guys keep subscribing, we'll definitely have more for you. You should follow us on our personal Instagram, link in the description below. Our Twitter pages as well. Our TikTok, you should go follow the Ball N Beatz Media TikTok. We go live every single Monday night at around 11 p.m. for Monday night breakdowns. You should follow us as well on the Ball N Beatz Media Instagram page as well. We post social media stuff on there fairly consistently. You should do that. More B&B water. It's delicious.
For sure.
You can get it at your nearest tap. NFL Conference Championship weekend as we hear the beautiful gulp from Spencer. 3 o'clock on Sunday. Number 1 Denver versus number 2 New England. Good thing we just, passed around the CJ Stroud debacle that was this past weekend to not even discuss it. Denver, New England. New England is favored. Denver, backup quarterback. Jared Stidham, first career playoff start. Only like 3 or 4 starts over his entire career at the NFL level. What are we feeling?
I'll take New England. I think that, Denver is nice. Their defense is good, but I think that losing Bo Nix is too much. I don't think Jarrett Stidham is going to have like some Nick Foles, redemption arc. I think New England's playing really well defensively and offensively. So, yeah, I'll take the Patriots.
I got to say, there is a world where Denver wins this game, okay? We've seen it in the past. We've seen a backup quarterback have to come in late season and take a team on a run. We saw it with Nick Foles in Philadelphia. I'm not going to argue against Denver not having a shot because they have a shot. They're here for a reason. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Granted, points-wise, they do give up a lot more points to be desired from a very talented defense, I will say. But there's still quality on offense. The running game has gotten itself going a little bit. And I think Stidham, he can be a quality guy. We'll have to see. This New England team is pretty hard to beat, though. This defense is playing very good football right now. It didn't help that CJ Stroud had maybe the worst game of his career that he'll ever have in any football game of his life. But Milton Williams is a game wrecker on that defensive line. Christian Gonzalez is one of the best cover corners in the league, and he's young. And then you have Drake May, who some would argue right now is maybe the MVP over Stafford. I don't think so, but I think
No.
Stafford's still the MVP.
Yeah.
But it's a legit argument to have. And their running game's starting to go. Stevenson's running the ball a lot better than I've seen.
Yeah.
And Henderson's gotten going a little bit. But Kayshon Boutte, the emergence of Kayshon Boutte this year for the Patriots, outside of Stephon Diggs, has been massive. It felt like the Patriots didn't really have a legit wide receiver one, and that's why you had to go get Stephon Diggs. I think Kayshon Boutte has a chance to really be. And I'm going with New England as well. In this moment, the Patriots get back to the Super Bowl, and it feels weird. We got used to not seeing the Patriots at a level like this. And in fact, since
They're
2011, every single AFC title has had either the Chiefs or Patriots in that football game.
Yep.
That hasn't changed. Some things never
They're
change.
back.
The best ones come back like they never left. And moving on to the NFC Championship, you have the Los Angeles Rams, 5th seed, going up to Lumen Field, taking on the 1 seed Seattle Seahawks. This one's hard to predict because I'm very biased in some ways.
I'm going with the Rams. We're gonna have a battle of the MVPs in Super Bowl 60. I think that the Rams have the better. I think the Rams have the better offense. I do think Seattle has the slightly better defense, but I don't trust Sam Darnold. I still don't.
Seattle feels like a team
did not win
destiny.
that game against the Niners because of Sam Darnold.
I mean, they were already up 7-0 before the offense got on the football field.
So. Exactly. They didn't win it because of Darnold. I trust Matthew Stafford a ton, especially after that big win in Chicago, which thank you, by the way. But yeah, it was no. I think that, and I think we'll get a, what was it, Super Bowl 50.
Super Bowl 53.
53 rematch with Rams and Patriots.
Shout out Chicago Bears for putting up a valiant effort and Caleb Williams making one of the best plays we've ever seen in NFL history.
Yeah,
that was beautiful,
here.
But
sucks to suck.
He
Caleb
did not
Williams
win.
Throws interceptions when it matters.
He did not win. Seattle feels like a team of destiny right now, dude. They are the best team currently in the league. Like, I think that's not a question.
Pause to that.
I think they are the best team in the NFL right now.
Dog, they have Sam Darnold.
Hey, if you
team with Sam Darnold is the best team in the NFL.
Spencer, if you were telling me in 2020, out of all the quarterbacks that were drafted in 2018, that the one who could legitimately play in the Super Bowl first out of all of them was Sam Darnold, between Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Seattle has a legit chance for that to happen.
Well, Josh Allen's already been to the AFC Championship.
But he didn't make a Super Bowl, though. Okay.
No, he didn't.
So was Lamar Jackson. They both made the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
But Sam Darnold has a legit chance and a legit team.
And I'll come on here and I'll give him his praise if they go out there and they win and he actually looks good for once. But they win despite of him.
I don't think that's the case, man.
I
think they're just a well-oiled machine around everybody right now.
It's hard to pick against quarterback.
I'm not going to argue that he's not a game manager. He's definitely a game manager. But statistically, the last 2 seasons, he's been a top 5 quarterback.
Because he's been put in the best systems he can possibly be in.
Is that not how you're supposed to win? Is that not like the best way to win?
But look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen doesn't have everything gifted in him, and he's just going out there and balling out. Lamar Jackson.
A lot of guys go out there and
didn't have an amazing offensive
I'm trying to get the argument here.
The argument is they're winning despite of Sam Darnold, so I can't trust Sam Darnold. In a big spot, I'm not trusting Sam Darnold because in every big spot they've had this year, he's folded at one point or looked really bad.
That's fair. You have a point there.
That game against the Rams, they're lucky that the punt return. The punt return by Rashid Shaheed. Yeah. And that got him back in the game because Darnold threw 2 interceptions in crucial moments in that game. He's average at best, and I can't trust him when I got Matthew Stafford, who is arguably the MVP on the other side. And while I do think their defense is legit, like they have the best defense in the NFL, and that's thanks to Mike McDonald. And Zach Charbonnet's now out. He's
That
not
could
going to
be
be
a
playing. So
massive.
now it's
That could be
just
massive.
Now it's just K9. They tried to do what the Lions did with Montgomery and Gibbs, and now they can't because Charbonnet's out. It's just K9, which I think is going to be a big factor.
It's a massive
Their
loss.
offensive line is solid. It's not amazing. It's going to come down to the defenses at the end of the day. It's going to come down to the defenses, but I trust Matthew Stafford a hell of a lot more than I trust the Ginger on the other side.
See, I agree with you. That's the funny part. I'm picking the Rams. I just wanted to hype up the Seahawks here. Now, look, I'm picking them for two reasons. One, Matthew Stafford, and two, they were my preseason Super Bowl winning team. And I'm not going away from it. The Rams give me a little pause for concern. You've seen the last two games. They could have gone either way both times.
Yeah.
They kind of
Play
scare me.
calling
I
hasn't
think
been great.
I will say their defense is kind of suspect, specifically in the secondary. I think their secondary is a little more suspect because I think their defensive line with Jared Verse, Braden Fisk,
They really should have lost the game.
Byron Young. I mean, they are legit up front, and their linebacking in Nate Landman. Nate Landman's come along, dude. That dude's one of the best players in the league right now. He is nasty. I just have issues with their secondary. And I think Seattle has a legit chance to just dice them up. Now, granted, does that mean Darnold will be accurate? We'll have to see. I think there's ways that Seattle could win this, and it would be a blowout, honestly. But it does scare me with the fact that the MVP is on the other side for the Rams.
Yep.
I'm leaning the Rams too, but it's hard to go up to Seattle and win. The way they're playing right now, my confidence level is absolutely zero for the Rams to win this game.
Yeah, no, like I said, Rams Patriots. I that'll be a really good Super Bowl too.
Either way you slice it, I'm hoping for Broncos Rams because it's a matchup we've never seen before, and not because of Jared Stidham. Either way, I still would have said Bo Nix.
Super Bowl.
I want to see Jared Stidham in the Super Bowl. In fact, all people want to see Jared Stidham in the Super Bowl.
No, I want to see a good game.
People want May Stafford. That's what they want. I think May Stafford is the matchup that everyone is desiring. Because here's the thing. If you get May and Stafford, you literally, like we said, you have the two best dudes up for the MVP this year. You have Stafford, who has a chance to really solidify himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He would solidify his Hall of Fame status. And then you have Drake May, who could maybe start a new dynasty or a new run with a franchise that has already been there in the past, but really starting to etch his own name into the history books. It'll be intriguing. We have both the same Super Bowl matchup here with the Patriots and the Rams. It'll be intriguing to see what unfolds. That means it's almost guaranteed Broncos Seahawks, since we both agree. So when we come back here, we're going to have a Super Bowl 48 rematch.
Or 48, yeah.
Super Bowl 48 rematch. Is it 48 or 47? I think it's one of those two. It's 47 or 48.
48. Because 49 was
Patriots,
the Seahawks and Patriots game.
It was 48. That's right. So we're in that
means a rematch of that too. It's just
exactly. I mean, it's a bunch of rematches here. That's why Broncos Rams is the one that I'm hoping for because it's a new matchup. We haven't seen Broncos versus the Rams in the Super Bowl. But Matthew Stafford, my preseason MVP, my preseason Super Bowl winning team, they're going to get it done up in Seattle. That's going to wrap up this episode here of the Scoop and Score Football Show, a fairly light one compared to what we usually do. But next week, we'll have a little bit more for you. Super Bowl matchup will be set. Way too early rankings for the college football season next year for 2026 and more coming. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Peace out.